Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. Chad Hyams here with another fantastic interview. And folks, I don't know if you've heard this guy talk before, but you are in for a treat today. My guest on today's episode, well, I'm going to let him introduce himself to you because I love when they get to tell us what it is they truly want us to know about them. So, guest, welcome to the interview. Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. Introduce yourself to our audience if you wouldn't mind.
Chad, what's going on? My name is Clint Pulver. It's an honor to be on the show. I'm a professional speaker, an author, a loving husband and father, and I'm excited to be on this today with you. Thanks for having me.
And you're an internet IT guy, obviously.
Yeah,
and that'll just stay between Clint and I, so you guys don't have to worry about it. But
yes.
All right, so Clint, we're so privileged to have you here. When we get amazing guests, you know, we like to do our research, and as we say, Bob's our research department. You'll notice he's not here today, so I had to do some research myself. And the first thing I did, well, I went right to your website. I had to do some research on you. I went right to your website. And I got to tell you, there was something that jumped right off the page to me. Now, it's probably because the font is a lot bigger than everything else that it jumped off the page at me. But it says this quote, and I want to share this with our audience. It says, "It's not about being the best in the world. It's about being the best for the world." You know, tell us what that means to you and why is that so predominantly right there on your website?
I think there's a big difference in this world between living a life of success versus living a life of significance. We deem success to be something that is based off of accomplishment or being the best at something or having high numbers or being a top performer or reaching a certain level of something or having an accolade. We would deem that to be successful, but that's not really the thing personally and in my life that I strive the most for. Nothing wrong with those things. Those can be great things. But for example, if I were to ask you, Chad, who are the last 3 NFL MVPs? Could you tell me their names?
I would just start guessing off quarterbacks. I don't know that I would actually be able to pull the last 3 years of NFL MVPs.
What about the last 2 Academy Award winners for Best Actor?
No, you're going to put me in a bad spot there because I'm a big movie guy. But no, I don't remember that. You're right.
Yeah, or if I were to ask, who are the last 2 Miss Americas? Like, we don't know. Nobody knows.
Right.
Like, we really don't know, but yet they are successful people. Those are people that have a lot of popularity, a lot of fame, a lot of wealth. They have millions of followers on Instagram, whatever you want to call it. They're successful.
Sure.
But check this out. Chad, if I were to ask you, tell me the name of the teacher who made a difference in your life as a kid.
Oh, yeah. I could list off like 6 of them.
Tell me the name. One name.
Okay, so Fred Turry was one who really stands out and changed my life. Sheila Zeidenberg was another teacher who stands out and changed my life. Mrs. Pickering from grade 3, I still remember her.
Exactly. Or if you think about your company or your organization or who's helped you through a difficult time this last month, like you instantly know who those people are.
Sure.
Why? Because they were significant in your life, not just successful. They were the people that got to the part about you. They were the people that weren't probably, well known or famous or considered to be the best at something, but they were the best for you. They were the best for the world. They lived a life of significance, not just a life of success. And that's how I try to live as best as I can. I'm striving to be the best for the world.
What a great place to start, right? Here, the Win, Make, Give podcast. We talk about winners here in season number 2. And when we talk about Win, Make, Give, it's about health, wealth, leadership, and legacy.
Yeah.
And what you're really hitting that legacy part right there. You're hitting winning, legacy. You're right. Those teachers, I probably haven't done a good enough job of thanking them for what they did in my life, but they will always have a spot in my heart and in my head because of it.
Totally. Yeah, you just don't forget them, right? You don't forget the good ones. And it's about creating a lasting legacy, but also just stronger influence, stronger impact. And I think it's a beautiful thing when it's achieved.
All right, everybody. So those of you listen out there, I'm going to challenge right off the bat here, right? 1, can you name the 3 last NFL MVPs? And I'm sure somebody can. And if Bob were here, he would quickly be typing while I was talking to you. Or can you name the last 2 Academy Award Best Actors or something along those lines? Clint's proving a great point right there. Most of us don't know these answers, but wow, who was that teacher? Who was that person? And now I'm going to challenge you to go a step farther. Can you actually put a handwritten note together and send it to that teacher right now?
Yeah.
They might remember you just as much as you remember them. And who are you being significant to and connecting with? Clint, thank you for just opening right there. We're done. That was a great interview. Really appreciate this episode. No, okay. Let's keep going because, guys, if he can open the interview talking like that, we got some great value from Clint coming here. Now, Clint, you got a book. I love it here.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll have links in the show notes for everybody that you can all get it. And of course, they could probably search in everywhere that books are available, correct?
Yeah. It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all the places.
Perfect. So all the book places go, but we'll have a link for it for you guys as well. In the book, you talk about the reason for lasting loyalty and things that trigger people to leave, right? Talk about some of the keys to building loyalty that truly lasts.
Yeah. So some of my background quickly is for the last almost 5 years, I've worked as the undercover millennial. It's kind of like undercover boss without the makeup. I would go undercover into organizations as a millennial myself looking for a job. So I would walk into a real estate office, or I would walk into a retail outlet store, and I'd walk up to the first person that I saw and I would just say, "Hey, I'm looking for a job. What's it like to work here?" And because I wasn't a manager, I'm not a survey, the employees would tell me everything. And we created this environment where people could be honest. They could speak their truth. They didn't know that their stories were being heard, but we've been able to capture the most real and authentic data behind how great leaders were creating organizations that their people never wanted to leave.
All right. So before you go further, Clint, I want to go back to this whole undercover millennial concept.
Yeah.
Were you doing this for the companies? Like, did they hire you to go out and do this research, or were you just doing the research?
No, we partnered with the organizations.
So you were actually undercover boss style, like you said.
Absolutely.
And you just walked into the store, walked into the restaurant, walked into the office, whatever it was, and just started talking to people like the millennial you are, who will talk to just anybody out there or whatever. And you had a set list of questions you wanted to go through, and you were either recording them or you would go make notes after, but you were actually doing this for a company.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we worked with 181 organizations.
Wow.
And over the course of this 5-year period, we've interviewed over 10,000 employees.
Wow. Okay. So you've got a wide data range here when you're talking about the stuff that you've learned.
Yeah. When we've worked with hospitality, tech, construction, the medical field, to retail, to food and beverage.
What was the coolest one? What was like the coolest experience that you had that you got to walk in? Like, did you get to play sick in a hospital? I mean, what was the coolest thing you did?
Almost always, I was going in as someone who was looking for a job. So I would go in as a potential hire. And that allowed me to go in and to casually walk into an organization and say, "Hey, I'm just thinking about applying. I'm just thinking about this industry. I'm looking at this job. I'm looking at this specific retail chain. I'm looking at this hospital. I'm looking at this hotel. Would you recommend it? I've heard some people, I'm just looking for work." And that would put people in a position where they would either advocate for the job or they would tell me to run from the job.
Interesting.
And it was a beautiful environment where, again, we were able to hear the truth. And that was kind of the sweet spot to gain real, authentic data. And so to answer your first initial question, is what creates lasting loyalty? Well, it's a lot of things, because the magic of our research was found not when an employee was dissatisfied with their job. The magic of the research was found when when I would walk up to them and say, "What's it like to work here?" And they would respond with, "I love it here. I love my job. My manager, Susie, you got to meet Susie. Our culture, we're a family here. What we're building, what we're creating." And then I would ask, well, why? Why? What keeps you here? They talk about Susie. Who's Susie? And what made Susie so special? And that's why we decided to write the book. And we titled the book, "I Love It Here: How Great Leaders Create Organizations Their People Never Want to Leave." And so leadership is the first thing that I think that's worth talking about, Chad. Leadership is the number one reason why people stay. Okay. It's also the number one reason why people leave.
And not surprising, actually, Clint.
Yeah,
so talk a little bit more on this.
Yeah. And I think it was fascinating when an employee talked about how they hated their job. If they were dissatisfied, they talked about the manager.
Okay.
When an employee loved their job, they talked about the mentor.
Interesting. Okay.
And it's fascinating because they didn't talk about the leader. They didn't talk about like, my leader's amazing. No, they didn't talk about the manager. They didn't talk about a leader. They talked about a mentor. Now, mentorship's really interesting because mentorship is not traditional leadership. It's not management. It's this middle ground. Mentorship is not something that can just be given as a title. Like you can't give a manager like the title of a mentor. You can't just give somebody the job specs of, oh, you're the mentor in the organization. It has to be earned.
Okay.
If you look at your life, Chad, and if you've ever had a mentor in real estate or your professional career, they earned that position with you. You sought them out.
Yep.
And it's because of who they were that created this environment where you said, you are the person that I need to work with.
Yes.
You are the person I need to listen to. You are the person that I like myself best because I'm with you. You connect me to my dreams. And when a manager or a leader could become the mentor in the story of an employee's life, that is what created the strongest amount of engagement, loyalty, buy-in, retention, which ultimately increased productivity and profitability.
Sure.
Mentorship versus management was a powerful thing to see.
Okay, hold that, because I know in the book you talk about the 5 C's of mentorship.
Yes.
And I want you to share these with everybody. But before we jump into that, a lot of our listeners on here maybe aren't leading an organization.
Yeah.
Does this stuff work at home? Can I become can dad also be a mentor in that regard and earn that title and earn that position? Can it happen in a relationship? Can it happen in other areas other than business organizations?
100%, especially in parenting. There's so many similarities in good leadership and good mentorship that correlate to good parenting. We found in every organization, there's 4 types of managers.
Okay.
You could also correlate this and call this 4 types of parents.
Got it.
Or 4 types of people, even in a relationship.
Well, everybody's listening now and they want me to ask you, what are the 4?
Yeah, so there's 2 variables in this equation before I talk about them: standards and connection.
Okay.
In our working relationships, even in our parenting relationships, there's standards, right? Like, I need you to clean your room. Okay, we need you to show up on time. There's a curfew in our home. We don't disrespect mom, right? Those are rules. I need you to show up on time at your job. I need you to produce. We have goals and quotas. Those would be considered standards in an organization.
Okay.
Standards in a home. Then the second piece is connection. The ability to relate, to empathize, to understand that you as an employee, you have a life outside of work. To realize as a kid, you have dreams and interests and abilities and strengths and needs and desires. I understand that. So there's those two variables. That's what we'll use. So the first parent or the first manager that we find is the removed manager or the removed parent. They're low on standards, low on connection. This is the parent that they're always at work. They're gone. They're missing from the home. They're absent. They're low on standards. They could care less what the kid's doing. They don't care if they do their homework. They don't care if they show up on time. They're just disengaged. They're so busy. They've got other priorities. And you find this a lot. And I hear about it, unfortunately, with a lot of young people that I work with. My parents are just removed from my life.
Got it.
They're also low on connection. There's no reason to connect. So what does this create in the parent-to-teen relationship, or what does this create in the working relationship? Disengagement.
Sure.
Why should I show up on time? Mom doesn't care. Why should I listen to what mom finally all of a sudden says we need to do? She doesn't care about me. She doesn't care about my life. So disengagement. The second is the buddy manager or the buddy parent.
Yes, we all know this one.
This is a parent that's really high on connection, low on standards. They don't want to ruin the relationship. They don't want to push the kid too hard. They love them. They're great on kindness and respect. But what this creates with no standards is a sense of entitlement. They walk all over the parent. They walk all over the manager because they allow it. These were the managers that would go and play Xbox on the weekends with their team. And then Monday morning, they come in and they're trying to increase performance, or they've got to crack down on standards. And everybody's like, dude, I saved you in Call of Duty on the weekend. I'm not, what are you talking about, Phil? Like, it just didn't work. And so it's almost where the employee becomes more of the boss than the boss does.
Okay.
Or where a teenager becomes more of the parent than the parent does.
Yeah, we all know plenty of teenagers that
Call the
sadly
shots.
seem to be the parent instead in that situation because the
That's
parent
right.
wants to be their friend. Sure.
And the third parent or the third
All right, so we're
manager.
working away on this quadrant here. They're going to be high in somewhere, right? Okay.
Yep. And so we're now on the controller. So this is the reverse. So they're high on standards, low on connection. This is that old command and control style. I own this house. You live in this house. You do what I say. I don't care what you want. These are my rules.
Yep.
It's all standard based. Okay. Or in the work environment, I show you I love you because I give you a paycheck. Do your job.
Right.
Don't complain. You know how we used to do this 20 years ago? So low on connection, high on standards. This created rebellion. Constant fights, constant going toe to toe, my way or the highway, and it becomes a battle. But the fourth manager, the fourth parent,
I can guess they're going to be high on both.
You got it, man. High on standards, high on connection. The mentor manager, the mentor parent, and this created respect. They weren't always liked, but they were respected. It's easier said than done, but when it's achieved, it was the beautiful combination that increased effectiveness, loyalty, engagement, ultimate happiness, where both parties were respected, both parties were seen, both parties were heard. And I think if we can create more of that in our homes and in our workplaces, it creates a beautiful environment all around.
Wow.
So those are the 4 types of parents and managers that we find.
All right. So listeners, take a minute. Where are you on that quadrant? Right? Are you low in both? Are you high in one, low in the other? Or are you high in both? Where do you fit? What can you take away from this conversation right here to move yourself towards being that mentor manager or that mentor parent type person so that you're that high in both and earning that respect? Okay, so let's keep going on this mentor topic, Clint, because you got the 5 C's of mentorship. And we love stuff like this, right? We love lists on the Win, Make, Give podcast. And it's even cooler when, heck, they're all C's, right? This is going to be easy. So gang, go get your pen, get your pencil, your paper out, wherever you're taking your notes. Let's go through the 5 C's of mentorship.
Great. Some parents listening to this, or leaders, or whoever the audience is, they go, they hear those 4 managers, the 4 parents, and they're like, I'm all 4 in one day, And the goal is to try to, as much as we can, to be in that mentor spot. So what makes a mentor a mentor? We found when we would go up to an employee undercover and they would say, man, I stay here because of Susie. I've been here for 11 years because of Susie. Well, what made Susie so special? It's these 5 C's. And the first one is confidence. Confidence. Confidence is a mindset. It's a mindset that invokes trust. If you're confident in your parenting, if you're confident in your decisions, if you're confident in what you're trying to do, and that you're ultimately confident in helping them succeed, that builds trust. I want to mentor with somebody that's confident in themselves. And there's those people that they lack in that confidence, and that obviously would then create some distrust. The more we can become confident in our decisions and our ability to connect other people to what matters to them, the more powerful we become in their story. The second C is credibility. We establish this as parents by, our history and our background, being relatable with our teenager. I remember when I was you. I went through the same thing. I remember when I played football and I got cut from the team just like you did. I've got some credibility. I've been there before. Same thing in the business world. If you're the car sales manager, I want to know, have you sold a car before? What's your history? Credibility matters. The third piece is competency. Sometimes we're really good as managers and leaders at barking orders. Do this, do that. These are the things we need to understand and do. And we sit back and say, just get it done. But being able to be a practitioner, not just a theorist, really matters. And I would say competency in parenting is about relevancy, right? You might know their favorite band, but do you actually listen to it? Do you have a TikTok account yourself? Do you have an Instagram account? Do you know that world? Do you understand what it means to use a hashtag? I know it sounds kind of trite, but that would bring relevancy. That would mean you're competent. That would mean, okay, you actually get the world I live in. That matters. Number 4 was candor. Candor. Great mentors, great parents have the ability to create relationships so strong that honesty can exist. And we do that by creating the deposits of trust, connecting, right? Sometimes as parents, we look at our kids like a fireplace and we say, give me heat, then I'll give you wood. Clean your room, and then we'll talk about you going out and hanging with your friends. Or we tell an employee, do your job, hit your quotas for the last 4 months, and then I'll talk about a raise. Then we'll talk about recognition. Instead, if we can flip that script, because every kid, every employee, they're looking at a parent and they're looking at a boss and they're saying, let me know when it gets to the part about me, Mom. Let me know when your rules, and let me know when the manager, your quotas, your mission statement, let me know when it matters to me. And people hear that that are parents or management, and they sometimes say, well, those entitled little shining stars in my life, right? Like, let me know when it gets to the part about me. And it's not so much about entitlement as it is about good business or about good parenting. It's about bringing humanity back into the relationship, because you have to realize you cannot control your child. You can't. You can try. You can use fear-based tactics. You can manipulate. You can threaten, but you cannot control that kid. You can't control the employee. The only thing you can control is yourself and the deposits of trust you make to connect, to become a mentor, to give them a reason to listen to you, to want to be with you. And so when you make those deposits of trust, that allows us to make the withdrawals. Right? We can have the honest conversations. You can sit down with Susie and say, listen, this is a problem right now. But they also understand that you've got their best interest in heart, because that leads us to the final C, and that is caring. The ability to give a darn, to really care about somebody, to know that, yeah, listen, we've got standards and we've got rules, but that's for the good of you. And it's because I want you to be successful. I want you to be happy. I want you to be safe. I want you to be able to grow in this company. That's my desire for you. I care about you. And everybody wants to be seen. They want to be heard. They want to be understood. And when you can become those 5 C's in a person's life, you've got the confidence. You're credible. You have competency. You can have honest conversations, but you truly care about that individual, then you are well on your way at becoming a mentor in their life. And it's a great place to be.
Wow. I'm just sitting over here, folks. I'm usually pretty easy to go with these conversations. You're making me stop, right? You're making me stop, think, and going, am I these things? There are some people, maybe I am these things too, but there's some things on here where I'm like, ooh, right? And it's like, I just assume I earn the right to be a mentor to somebody, and it's not. I've got to work through these 5 C's to make sure that I'm showing them that I have the confidence, that I have that credibility, that I have that competency, that I have candor. And a lot of my people know I definitely got that one with them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then do I really care?
Totally.
To make sure that we're earning that. So gang, take a few minutes, right? You're not going to stop now. You're going to keep hearing Clint, because Clint's got a lot more to share with us. Take a few minutes after and go over those 5 C's for yourself and really start to look at it and say, am I living up to all 5 of these C's to truly be a full mentor? Not, I'm good at 2 or 3 of them, so that should be good enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So Clint, again, I was going through some of your notes. I was going through some of the information that you sent over. I was going through what I could find on the book and stuff like that as I was perusing it to set up this interview. Everybody's got secret powers, right? You mentioned that everyone's got secret powers that are hidden within them. Now, come on, you might be millennial, so you're a little bit younger than me, but we all grew up wishing that one day, webs shot out of our hands, or we magically could fly off, or whatever, or we turn invisible. We all wish we had secret powers, but you're telling me we do.
Everybody's got, this hidden innate opportunity for us to tap into if we want to influence people. And it is by communicating their potential and communicating somebody's worth. If you can do those 2 things, and you can do those really well, and you can do it to the point that those people see it within themselves, man, that's a really cool, I call them the superpowers, that you get to tap into an individual's life because of. My life was changed. I think all of our lives have been changed by people, right? We talked about this at the beginning of the interview. Your teachers. Mm-hmm. I guarantee Those people in your life, Chad, they were people that communicated your potential and they communicated your worth. They looked at you and they said, I see you becoming something. You have potential. You have an opportunity. They saw possibilities. They also saw that you were worth something, and they helped you to understand that you were good enough. I was the kid in school that always had a hard time sitting still. I would constantly move and tap, and my right hand would move, my left hand would move, and I tap, 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 tap. I have a hard time even sitting still in these interviews. I still have a hard time sitting still. And I had a teacher, and his name was Mr. Jensen, and he told me to stay after class, and he wanted to talk to me. And I was deemed the problem. Like, I was on the list. I got sent to the principal's office. I was bullied. Kids called me the Twitcher. And he sat me down and he said, listen, I watched what you do. He said, it's crazy. He said, you'll take a pen and you'll start writing with your right hand. You'll tap with your left hand. And then you'll switch the pen. And you'll start writing with your left hand. And then you can tap with your right hand. He said, Clint, I think you're ambidextrous.
Clint, I'm just confused here listening to you say that how that's even possible to do.
Right? And he did. He was like, I think you're ambidextrous. And I was like, no, I'm Presbyterian. He's like, no, no. He's like, oh gosh. He's like, you do not understand what this means. He said, tap your head and rub your belly. He's like, just try it. And I gave it a go. I could do it.
Yeah, and I can do that one.
He's like, then can you switch it? Then can you rub your head and then tap your belly?
Yeah, I'm okay so far.
Okay, right? A little bit harder. And I could switch back and forth with both hands without thinking about it. And he sat back in his chair and he looked at me and he said, I knew it. I knew it. And he leaned forward and he said, I don't think you're a problem. I just think you're a drummer. And some people
drummers
hear that.
are problems. Come on, we all know in the band the drummer's always the problem.
Yeah,
maybe they are the same thing though.
Yeah, they hear that and they go, what's the difference between those two things? But I believe full-heartedly, Chad, in the power of moments. Mm-hmm. I think that, when I would go in undercover and I would research and talk to employees and they would tell me why they stayed, why they worked harder, why they were engaged, why they loved their work. They always talked about the moments that leaders created in their lives. Moments. We don't remember days, we remember moments.
Sure.
And in this moment, Mr. Jensen, that old teacher, he leaned back in his desk, then he opened up the top drawer and he reached inside and he took out my very first pair of drumsticks. And he put them in my hands and he said, Clint, you're not a problem. You're just a drummer. And I want you to keep these sticks in your hands as much as you can. He created a moment, Chad, that represented potential and it represented my worth. And that was 22 years ago.
And you still have those drumsticks somewhere. I know you do.
I actually shredded them. I played so much that the wood just eventually fell apart. And I didn't really honestly understand the significance of that moment at that time, to be honest.
Of course not.
I looked at it as just like, okay, cool, awesome. But it gave me an identity. And I took that and I ran with it because somebody showed me what was really there that I didn't even see within myself. And for 22 years, I've traveled and recorded all over the world as a professional drummer. I've been on America's Got Talent. I played with some amazing artists. I remember when I graduated high school, I had no clue what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And so what do you do when you're a high school student and you have no clue? You go to college, right? That's a joke. I went to college. I graduated in 2012 with a bachelor's degree in zero college debt. And that was from music scholarships. And I don't say all of that to go, wow, good for you, Clint, or what a list of accolades, but it's trying to make a point that great leaders create moments. And when you can communicate the potential and worth of somebody, when's the last time you sat down with one of your kids and you just said, John, Sally, Susie, Ben, Michael, I just want you to know as your parent, like I see the good that you do. I see how you care for your brothers and sisters. I see how you show up and you try so hard at school. And I know there's tough days and there's been times that you've struggled and you get bullied and you just still try to be kind to other people. I see that in you. And then take it a step further and then tell them what you see them becoming. Because I'm here to tell you, Chad, that most kids don't see that. The Hawthorne Institute, they did a study 2 years ago and they found that a young adult, juniors, seniors in high school, they have anywhere from 15,000 to 60,000 thoughts in a day. Some people are hearing this and they're going, my child has maybe 12. But on average, 15,000 to 60,000 thoughts. But what they also found is that 80% of those thoughts are negative.
Right.
I'm not smart enough. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not pretty enough. I only got 56 likes on my Insta post when I usually get 400. Or why doesn't Susie open up my Snapchat? Or why does Tom like Sally and not me? And we laugh at some of those things, or some of those things might just seem trite or adolescent. But to a kid, it means a lot.
Right.
And you add 80% of negativity, and then you compound that day after day after day. Oh, 3.2 million kids are bullied every single day in school. Suicide is still the second leading cause of death. 1.2 million kids drop out of school the first week in high school. They never come back. And kids are battling a lot. We're all battling stuff. Like, I had my mom always told me growing up, she said, treat everybody as if they're going through the hardest time in their life.
Right.
Because most of the time you're probably right. They probably are. And when we have this mentality of trying to just see what's right in a person instead of seeing what's wrong, trying to accentuate the good, trying to create a moment of advocacy, not just development. Sometimes as leaders and managers and as parents, we want to develop our kids. We want to develop our employees, get results, be a responsible human being. But we must remember that it is the advocacy, it is the moments, it is those little opportunities of hope that we create where people go, I see more because of you. I like myself best because of you. I don't just like my job. I like who I am while I'm at my job because of the moments you create. It's very powerful, and it's sometimes overlooked because it's considered a soft skill or an intangible, something that you can't track, something that it's not quantifiable. But to your people and to your kids, it matters. So create the moments.
I love how you started it at work, and we've taken it home, and now we're taking it from home back into work, because boy, there's some managers out there, mentors out there who are like a parent to their employees. Even they get that role, they become that role that some people needed to have. That, folks, the stuff Clint's talking about here today, it's not just at work. Just because he went into places of business to do his undercover millennial work doesn't mean he probably couldn't go home and start asking teenagers the same thing about their parents and getting that connection. Okay, so I want to keep going on this, Clint. I got one more major question that you've been doing some great job answering these things. One of the things you talk about is having a personal board of directors.
Yeah.
And I had a mentor who I worked with for a while who always talked to business owners and said, I don't care if you're a entrepreneur, solo entrepreneur, if you've got a real team, if you've got a true company that's on the stock market, whatever, you need a board of directors.
Yeah.
Always talked about the power of a board of directors for somebody, even if it was a single person running their company. And you talk about having a personal board of directors and how it can elevate our leadership abilities.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the power of this, because while I hope everybody walks away from this conversation creating significance and creating moments for people and knowing the 5 C's so that they could be better mentors to their family and to their employees and to friends and everybody around them, I think one of the things everybody really could take away from this is to sit down and go build themselves a board of directors.
Yeah.
Talk to us about an exercise that you can do, the power of it, how it works, who we should be looking at. Take it away.
Yeah, great question. So I actually call it a board of mentors. I take it even a step further. So every successful organization, they have, a larger organization most of the time has a board of directors. They're the qualified individuals that when that company has a tough decision to make or something's on the table that really can, change the direction of an organization, they take it to the board. But individually, do you have a coach? Who are you mentoring with? Because I found in my research, when I would find, remember the Susies, those really significant leaders, and they had the 5 C's. They had this incredible ability to earn the will of those who followed them. But they were also being mentored. Great mentors are always being mentored. And we talk about becoming the 5 C's. those are also the 5 C's that you should look for in the person that you choose to coach with. My dad was my coach growing up in wrestling. I wrestled for a long time. I wrestled at Wasatch High School in Heber City, Utah. Great wrestling program. Kel Sanderson, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, graduated from my high school. We have a big statue of him in the gym, and he was a gold medal Olympic wrestler. Like, I think he lost maybe like 5 times his whole career. Just unbelievable. And I grew up watching him, because my dad every Friday night would take us to the varsity wrestling matches, and we would watch Kel Sanderson just throw guys around on the mat like rag dolls. But I remember too, as a high school kid, Friday night, that's a big deal, right?
Sure.
Friday nights, let's go hang out with the homies. That's date night. That's no school the next day. And my dad would drag my butt to the varsity wrestling matches. And I remember I looked at him and I said, "Dad, I don't want to go anymore. I don't want to go. It's Friday night." And I remember my dad, he made a statement that's always stuck with me. And he said, "Clint, do you want to be a great wrestler? Do you want to be a great wrestler?" And I said, "Yeah, of course I do." He said, "Then you've got to hang out by the mat.
Mm-hmm.
You have to hang out by the mat." And it's a principle that's very true. If you want to be a great real estate agent, who are you hanging out with in real estate that's going to help you get there? If you want to be a great basketball player, you got to hang out by the hoop.
Sure.
And I believe that who we choose to associate with matters, right? Classic Jim Rohn. You become the average of the 5 people that you associate with most. I have no idea if that's ever been totally proven.
We've all just accepted that, right?
Yeah, but I do believe that, right? If you put a hard to catch horse in a field with an easy to catch horse, you're going to end up with 2 hard to catch horses.
Right.
Right? You put a sick child in the room with a healthy child, you end up with 2 sick children. We should do whatever it takes to associate with astonishing people.
Mm.
Who are the people? This is a question that's worth asking. Who are the people that are living the life that you would like to live? Who are the people that you like yourself best when you're with them? Who are the people that it'd be worth learning from? Who are you following on your Instagram account? What are you watching on Netflix? What are you binging? What are you bringing into your life? Because that affects your perspective. And your perspective determines your reality. And whatever's real to you influences your behavior. And so if we want to be great at parenting, great at mentoring, great in leadership, great in health and body and mind and all the things that this wonderful podcast talks about, are you surrounding yourself with those people? But are you not just, I've got to be careful here, because it's not just reading a book. It's not just looking at a few Instagram posts. Those influence us. Those are powerful things. I would call that almost, how do we learn, right? How are we educating ourselves? But are you actually making the real effort to reach out to an individual and to call them as your mentor? Because remember, it has to be earned. And if you find somebody that's got the 5 C's in an area that you want to improve in on your life, take a chance. Earn their respect, earn that opportunity, ask them, shoot them a DM, connect with them, go to a conference where you know they're going to be, associate around the hoop, associations, connections, networking that revolves around the thing that you want to get better at. And then invite people to be that person in your life. Sometimes you have to pay for it. Sometimes it costs money. Sometimes there's just the power of a little bit of gratitude can go a long ways. I remember I've had great mentors that have given me a phone call. They've given me time. People that I mentor with still to this day on a monthly basis. And every time we talk, I send a thank you note with a little Jamba Juice gift card or a little ounce of appreciation. And that goes a long way. We must be willing to earn it. But man, what it will do in your life and how it will increase the productivity, the effectiveness to learn from other people's mistakes. That's a powerful opportunity. So create your board of mentors, and it will expedite your influence.
How many should be on my board?
There's no
should I have just
number.
1? Should I have 10? Should I?
I think obviously quality is always better than quantity, right?
There you go.
And it's like friendship, right? I'd rather have 2, 3 really close, good friends than all these, acquaintances. Same thing with mentorship. It takes one, right? I had Mr. Jensen. I didn't have 5 Mr. Jensens. I had 1. And that's all it took. The point is and I have different mentors for different things.
There you go. Good.
I have a religious mentor. I have a health mentor. I have people in my speaking career that are my mentors. Different boards. Sometimes I have 3 or 4. In one category, I've got 1. The point is, are we actively engaging with good people that will help us to become more significant.
All right, now I'm going to ask everybody out there listening to do me one favor. Don't all reach out to Ben Kinney tomorrow. Right? Don't hear this message and say, well, Clint told me, Ben, that I'm supposed to just reach out. I will tell people, and I've told people this before, when it comes to finding that board, when it comes to finding those mentors, things like that, while we want to always, the old saying, what is it? Aim for the moon. Even if you miss, you land amongst the stars, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, sure, it would be awesome to have Elon Musk be my mentor. It would be awesome to have, some of these great leaders out there, or have these great financial people to be my mentor. But they're so high that I'm not going to even show up on their radar yet. Sometimes I have to go to this person. And then once I start to kind of catch up to that mentor, that's okay. Who was their mentor? And can I move up that ladder and move up that ladder? And don't be put down if you feel like, hey, I'm aiming for somebody that's all the way up here, but I'm not getting the response I'm looking for. It's okay to find somebody that's on the way there and almost graduate elementary school, graduate middle school, graduate high school, work your way to college, and then end up with that person as your mentor. So just keep that in mind to add on top of what Clint's talking about.
And don't even, and I would also add to that, sometimes we think of mentorship as somebody who's older than us. It has nothing to do with age. I have some great mentors in my life who are younger than me.
Great point.
Yeah. And so and there's some people, in life that we deem to be successful, like the Elon Musks or the Gary Vaynerchuks or the Steve Jobs, or the people that are very notable.
Yep.
But I found in my research that there are people that are just as powerful, just as relevant and educated and brilliant as those people. They just haven't sent somebody to space, or they haven't had the right moment where they got this news spot, or they did the TED Talk that blew them up. Just because they might not be famous doesn't mean they're not a great mentor.
And what a great way to bring it all the way back to where you started at the beginning of this, right? It's not about being the best in the world. It's about being the best for the world. And it's having that significance, not necessarily just the success.
Amen.
Way to bring that all the way around without even meaning to. That we just came full circle, perfect on it. All right, so we here at Win Make Give, we definitely care. We believe we've got some confidence, right? If you listen to us, you can be sure that we sound like we're confident at least, right? We've got some credibility most of the time, depending on who's talking about what, right? Competency, absolutely, and you're going to get candor from us. I mean, we're going to just come to you. We definitely care, though. So we hope that we can be one of your mentors, even if it's just listening to the podcast regularly. But this year, we're really stepping up that caring piece of it, Clint. And what we're going to do is we've been making a donation to a charity for every listen an episode gets within the first 30 days it goes on. And to thank you for taking your time and joining and sharing with our audience, we'd like you to select the charity that we're going to donate to based on the number of listens we can get on this episode.
Yeah, that's amazing. I would be honored if you would donate to Operation Underground Railroad, Tim Ballard's organization that helps human trafficking and to end that horrific thing that takes place in this world, unfortunately. Yeah, well, Operation Underground Railroad.
We've already got an episode dedicated to them, and now we're going to get a second episode dedicated to them so we can really help that organization this year. So, folks, if you got something from one of the 5 C's, if you've got something about these superpowers within us, your board of directors, if you got something about being a mentor, share this with anybody, everybody. If you're the mentor to someone, don't you want them to hear about this? If they're your mentor, don't you want to share this with them? Because all in all, it's going to help us raise more money. So, Clint, before we get out of here, you got a book, you're a speaker, you're out there for people. How can they connect with you if they want to learn more about you, if they want to bring you to their area, if they want to reach out and talk to you a little bit more? How should people connect with you?
Check out the website, clintpulver.com, and then they can get the book on Amazon. It's available for pre-order right now. It comes out April 13th, and I just really appreciate you, Chad. This has been an honor, and thank you for your advocacy and support.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time with us here today. Folks, as always, we hope that you are sharing these episodes. We hope you're subscribed so you don't miss when an episode like this drops. It should automatically show up for you if you subscribe. We would love those ratings and reviews if you haven't taken a moment to leave them for us yet. Make sure you also come into the Facebook group. That's facebook.com/groups/win-make-give. Well, we're going to be talking about this. We'll put a link to Clint's book. We'll have those opportunities that are there for you to continue the conversation. And as always, I want to remind you, until our next episode, do good.